that's our time. So without further ado, I think we'll get started. So welcome to our first webinar of 2021. A warm welcome to you, although those that are in sunnier climates, I'm sure you're having a far greater time than we are holed up in our houses at the moment, where it's dark and still quite cold. So welcome to you all. It's been quite a long time for us all in lockdown. I'm sure most of us are still experiencing quite tough restrictions at the moment. So just a kind of message of solidarity to you all, that we're all in it together, and we're just glad that you've taken the time to join us today. So we're here to talk about how to sell design sprints internally, and it tends to be a tricky subject and a tricky topic. So it's been really, I think I'm certainly excited as well to hear from John and Dana from Design Sprint Academy to tell us more about their experience in selling in design sprints. So our panelists today are John and Dana from Design Sprint Academy. You have myself. I am managing partner of Design Sprint Academy here in Scotland, and we have Alex as well, who is our innovation consultant. He deals with and supports us in everything that we do in the academy, and we will be taking Q&A at the end. Just to let you know, before I go on to some of the other slides, just a couple of housekeeping points. Just to say that we are recording the session today. Just for us, we'll be sharing it out on our social media channels later, so you can come back and take a look again. There will be, a chance for you to put some questions into the Q&A in the chat for us to answer at the end. But again, we'll also take questions perhaps when you do maybe review the session again. There's quite a lot of information to take in on this session, so we'll only be too happy to again answer questions after the session has ended as well. And just to let you know that we are also, again, just we're encouraging, if you are using the chat, that you put it to everyone so everyone can see the questions that are being asked as well. So a little bit about Design Sprint Academy. We're all about where to play and how to win. We work with a broad range of organisations, from Fortune 500 down to SMEs, both private companies and public as well. We use design sprints to build sustainable products, develop new business models, and solve toughest problems. We can be doing that as a moonshot, we could be doing on product, service. There's a whole array of where, I guess, areas where you can apply design sprints and where we've had experience. So how do we do that? So here at Design Sprint Academy, we have the Design Sprint 3.0 methodology, where we take out the problem framing away from the actual design sprint itself. So with that, we actually train, we build capability within organisations, both on problem framing and design sprints. And we've been doing this across the globe before COVID, and we travelled far afield to do this, but also obviously with COVID, we have now pivoted to remote. So we also do our professional certification, where you can actually do the training and become certified. There'll be more about that towards the end of the session. So we were the first ever company, organisation to actually provide design sprint training in the world, which is something we're extremely proud of. And we were also the first, well, we took problem framing out with the design sprint methodology and actually trained the Google Sprint Academy back in San Francisco in 2018. Again, something that we're extremely proud about. So we'll have our affiliates here. We do have our affiliate network. We've got all of our chapters here, and a warm welcome to all of our chapters that have come on to the session today. And those that haven't, we'd be delighted if you'd like to join the chapter. You see some of our hubs here. We also have our Design Sprint global chapters in London and Berlin. So a nice big warm welcome to you also. And some of our clients, as I said earlier, we work with a variety of organisations across a broad sector range as well. And again, John's going to allude to some of those organisations that we've worked with in the case studies today, just to give you a real flavour of the work that we do. So without further ado, today's agenda is very much about selling design sprints. We're approaching it very much from the top-down approach, which John will explain in detail just now. And we have the bottom-up approach where Dana will take us through. So I'm going to stop sharing just now and hand over to John. So I'll just do that now.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate. Thanks so much, and welcome everyone. I want to greet all of you, and sharing my screen. Let's dive right into the topic. Just give me one sec. Share my screen. How do I do this? I think this is how I do it. Perfect. Can everyone see my screen? Can you hear me okay, right?
You should see a mural board there with a big map.
So as Kate was saying, we wanted to approach selling design sprints internally into an organization from two perspectives. And one of them would be selling them top down, meaning one of the key stakeholders, the senior decision makers, is convinced of the value of design sprints and they want to bring it into their organization. This is what I'm going to speak to today. And the other one is bottom up, when you have people, maybe designers or consultants or just product people, very excited about the methodology, and they would like to convince their decision makers to do that. So that's what Dana will cover. I'm going to start with the top-down approach, and the story begins in London, where a lot of you are. In 2017, when we ran one design sprint with a company called RGA. Now, RGA is a reinsurer. It's Reinsurance Group of America. They're Fortune 500 companies, and they do life and health insurance primarily. And this design sprint was all about them trying to come up with a new proposition. And the design sprint was a new method that they wanted to try. Actually, their agency in London wanted to use this method to bring this new proposition to market. And they brought us in to help them run the design sprint. So they put together a team of experts to come up with this new product. And we did the design sprint. It was a wonderful experience. And the team had a lot of aha moments as we were going through the week. They could see what outcomes. We had like really good outcomes at the end of it. They were in awe with the process. It was so efficient. There was a lot of collaboration because we brought different experts from all kinds of fields, so they could all work together. And I think they enjoyed the facilitation as well. At least that's the testimonial we got afterwards. And our decision maker, Richard Verdin, when he saw the process, was in a way forward thinking, because he could realize immediately that the potential of design sprints to actually help them move from a red ocean where they would compete with other insurers on the same markets for the same kind of customers, to moving to a blue ocean where they would engage with underserved customers, capture new demand, and actually open new markets. So he saw the potential of design sprints, and then the question was, how can I bring this back to my organization? That was the question that came up. And yes, in order to do that, it's not enough that you have one decision maker who's bought in, right? It's not the whole organization. So the big goal was, how can I convince my peers, the rest of the leadership team, of the value of this process? And a few months later, we got back to London. Well, not quite London, but close to London, in Gatwick, where the airport was. Why? Because everyone was flying in. We brought together the creme de la creme, everyone in the leadership team from RGAX. As you can see here, it's all of the decision makers from Middle East, France, Spain, Italy, UK, Ireland, basically all of their EMEA leadership team, in order to experience the power of design sprints. And we took them through the entire training so they can learn about the process, about problem framing, about how to facilitate. And after a super engaging hands-on week, they are all on board. So everyone saw the value of the process. They're like, yes, we wanna do it. But still, that's not enough. Like, you can have all of your leadership team on board. Still, maybe you can have all of your permafrost of middle managers and other people who can stifle all of the innovation projects. So then the big question was, how might we scale design sprint into RGAX? And this question got its first answer right in the training setup, because they put to work everything that they learned during the week, and they came up with a long-term goal of setting up design sprints as a way to work into RGAX. They figure out what were their big questions that they wanted to answer, and then finally planning next steps. What should we do? And those next steps involved building a facilitation team and training all of their people in design sprints. And that's why we traveled still that year to Toronto, where we worked with all of the teams in North America, and we trained them in design sprints, because it was very, very important for them to get the same kind of process, the same kind of knowledge, and the same kind of tools. And then even more, still in 2018, more people in Europe would join our sessions in Berlin in 2019 to learn the process. During this time, they also started running design sprints on their own. So they were facilitating design sprints, building their own expertise. And then finally, 2020, yeah, this happened. We all know Corona happened, but that didn't stop them either, right? This is a distributed global team running design sprints. All we had to do is just get them up to date with the best practices of remote work and the tools that they needed to run design sprints. And in the end, the result is this one. All of the training, all of the knowledge, it's not enough. All of the will of the decision maker is not enough to bring design sprints into an organization. It will not work without structures in place to sustain it. It will not work without a process in which you can actually apply it. And that's why what RGA did, they created what they call life design sprints. They also have, as a process that they're using all across the organization, they also have a central facilitation team that's applying this process and working with insurance companies and their customers to launch new products. And the way their process works, they start with an idea, whatever idea might be, a novel one, a problem that they need solved. They go through a problem framing process just to make sure it's worth the investment. They come up with concepts using the design sprint, but then they put the money where their mouth is, and they actually implement this product. So the process leads not only to ideas, not only to prototypes, but it leads to products that they're putting into the market. They also tackle with design sprints big problems, big societal problems, like the suicides rate in the UK. This was one project where they managed to get together other insurers, experts, and work on these things. So my point here is, yes, you can have the buy-in of one decision maker, but actually selling the design sprints internally takes a lot of effort, even if you have that power. It needs convincing people. You need to show them the value, and then you need to get all of the knowledge and the tools. And afterwards, you need to put in the effort to create the process, to create the structures that are supporting this new way of working.
Excellent.
So that's one way of doing it. Probably some of you are in this position where you're trying to bring design sprints into your organization, and this can help, this kind of approach. But a lot of time, maybe some of you are consultants, or maybe some of you do not have that kind of decision-making power in the organization, and you still want to bring design sprints because you know the value, you've seen the value, maybe you've experienced the power of design sprints. So how are you going to do that? And it all starts with a little bit of empathy, and I will let Kate show you, and then Dana will talk about more in detail about how to do this approach. So Kate, back to you.
Thank you, John. Just to reiterate, I think I probably got you all maybe a little bit confused about how we are doing the questions. If you could post questions in the Q&A rather than the Zoom chat, that would be perfect. Just in case that there is any confusion. So we're going to do something really fun. I am super excited to do this live. I'm just going to share my screen. So if everyone could go to menti.com. So if you could grab your phones, if you've got them to hand, or open up an additional URL or a web browser and put in menti.com. I'm just going to share my screen just now. Everyone see my screen okay? Yay! So are you ready for a moment of empathy? I'm really excited. You see the code up the top. So if you've never used Menti before, if you go to Menti, which is menti.com, and they will ask you for a code, which you'll see at the top of my shared screen, which is 65, 35, 30, and 5. You should be able, yay, I'm getting thumbs up. That's good to see. Excellent. If anyone's having issues, if you can maybe just pop it into the Q&A, perhaps we can, if there is all, but you should all manage to get on okay. I'll just give it a couple more seconds for everyone to come on board. I think we're sitting at about 120 participants on the webinar. So just give this a few more seconds for people to come on board. Okay, we're sitting at 66. What I'll do, I'll just move on to the next screen so we can all see what we're doing here. So you should be able now to see this screen here. So the question is, what is your experience with design sprints? And we would ask you to, you'll see a small circle, there you go. If you could place that on your design sprint journey, are you at the point where you have just read the book? Or are you knocking it out the park and doing 10 plus sprints, or have facilitated 10 plus sprints, whether that be face-to-face or if that is remotely? Excellent. Got a few more people joining us here. I love the fact that someone's way out ahead. I'd like to know what number that person is. If that person who placed the dot there would like to share how many design sprints they've done in the Q&A, I'd like to call you out and find out a bit more about what you've done. Excellent. We have got 73 more people. We've got 73 on now. So I think that's everyone perhaps placed their dots. So as you can see from here, we're in and around, I would say we've got some who are quite experienced in design sprints, 10 plus, but the majority of our participants today are sitting pretty much, they've read the book, perhaps had a go once or twice at a design sprint. So it's perfect. This is a great session, and yeah, looking forward to taking you through this. So I'm just going to move us to the next slide. So that next question is, are you trying to introduce design sprints into your organization? So again, just placing the dots, whether it's yes, sir, I'm trying for that, not me, or I just don't know. And again, excellent. Fantastic. We might be able to then see those that are not me might just be our stakeholders, but we'll wait and see. Excellent. So yeah, the majority of our participants this evening are in and around that they have got this challenge of introducing design sprints. So fantastic. We kind of know roughly where we're at on your journey. So the next question here is short form, but we're asking you to put in an answer here to, why do you want to introduce design sprints into your organization? So I think you have up to 250 characters. So more collaboration, someone's put here. Introduce innovation because they're fun and efficient, yay. Make decisions faster, perfect. To become more innovative, new service offering. The current way we solve problems isn't using any framework and feels chaotic. That's a great one. Move from idea to something real more quickly. Rapid innovation, excellent. Design the right products. Not talking but doing, yay. Love that one. Increase collaboration and efficiency. Again, it's a way to do more meaningful work and enjoy at the same time. Excellent. So we can kind of see where we're pinpointing why we are looking to introduce design sprints. There is that kind of threads that are going through about innovation, about efficiency, faster delivery, perhaps being able to get through bottlenecks, being able to make better decision making. Got some other great ones here. Increase the value, production and collaboration of IPTs, I think that is. Bring policy and design together, another great one here. Team alignment, excellent. These are fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to move us on. These are great answers. I love your enthusiasm and your interaction. It's great and gives us a really, really good idea of some of the challenges that you're, or why you're, I guess you're buy into what we're doing. Okay, so the next one here is we're ready to shift perspectives. Yeah, I think that's why we're all here. We want to know how we can put, sell this into organizations or to people and to really be able to build champions within our organization to support design sprints. So the next question here that we have is, who are you trying to sell design sprints to? Got a range of titles here, and I want you, once you've voted, just to keep in mind who you have selected here. So we have my team, we have my direct superior, my project manager, my head of product, VP of innovation, CEO, and none, I'm the stakeholder. Excellent. So we're seeing here at the moment, out in the lead is CEO at the moment, followed by my team. We have the other four and maybe five all sitting around about the same. My team's, yeah, it's getting there. Excellent. So we're kind of getting a really good vision here of our visual of who we are trying to sell our design sprint. So I'll just again remind you to keep that in the back of your mind, who that person is that you're trying to sell the concept to. So we'd like to just find a little bit of context around that. So why are they the right people to sell design sprints to? So again, I think this is short form. I think you have 250 characters that you can use. Because they are the decision makers. Or they seem to be the decision maker. I love it. They hold the purse strings. They are in charge. Hold the purse strings, so budgets. It's a good one there. Because you need a co-sponsor. That's interesting as well, just having that board sponsor, that somebody who's going to champion what you're doing. Leadership buy-in and budget. Excellent. Good one here, because as it was mentioned, sell top to bottom. No movement can be made because only they can lift restrictions. They need to unlock the internal time and resource to do these. Yeah, the permission, I guess, to actually run them. It will impact their daily work. Excellent. Great. So that gives us an idea of the reasons why they're the right people to sell design sprints to. So moving to the next slide. This is another way just to add a little bit more context and to build on that empathy of these stakeholders that we're trying to promote the concept too. So again, from 1, which is strongly disagree, to 10, strongly disagree, strongly agree, where do they spend most of their attention and energy? So think back who that person is, why you're trying to sell it to them, and then think about their jobs to be done. What are they doing in that role? So is it planning? Is it monitoring and controlling? Is it organizing? Is it resourcing? Is it developing people? Is it leading people? Is it troubleshooting or in meetings? Got leading people out at the moment, planning as well, in meetings. Yeah, I think we've got in meetings seem to be in planning, and the rest are all around the same, organising, just slightly more out in the lead. Excellent. Fantastic. So just move that onto the next slide. So thinking about all that we've done so far, what do they fear most? So what is the, what is their pain points? If we're thinking to empathise with them, we have be candid in giving negative feedback. Is that what they fear the most? Or is it to disappoint, not rise up to expectations? So they might have that imposter syndrome, make the wrong decision. Again, potentially one that's out there, lose power, status, their reputation, and then lose control and influence. So they don't have the dressing room, they lose that team following and that influence. Got quite a few coming in at making the wrong decision. It's kind of head in head with lose control and influence at the moment. Again, I should point out it's the same marking. 1 is strongly disagree, 10 is strongly agree. Excellent. So I think we have got a winner there on making the wrong decision. And I think we can probably all empathise with that. It's certainly something that we see a lot at Design Sprint Academy when we're working with leadership teams and the C-suite, is that pain point. So what would your key stakeholder like to do more of? If we were to live a day in the life of our stakeholder, what do we think? And it's okay to have an assumption here. I think it's good for us to think about and make assumptions at this point. Play golf, love it. Sale and make money. Focus on the business culture. Innovate, we've got here, innovating, building new products. Ship faster, it's good. So you've got that speed of delivery, faster. Risk analysis, so de-risking perhaps. Disrupt, so looking to perhaps come in as a disruptor into a sector, or perhaps pivot. Increasing efficiency and enjoyability of what we do. I love that one. I think that's really important. More money. Finish stuff, yay. We've all been there when there's been, product just keeps on going. We never get to the end. How to add more value, great insight there. Future growth, yeah. Easy work. Excellent. Okay, so I think this does give us that, empathizing with our stakeholders here, because they're human, right? And I think Dana's going to touch a lot more on that concept about that our stakeholders all have jobs to be done. They've got to get things over the line, and how we can really empathize and relate to that. I think just a couple more here. Deliver features, not really solve problems. Proper work rather than fancy design. Focus on business, lead generation and money. Excellent. These are great. Fantastic. So I'm just going to move us, I think, on to, yeah, end of presentation. So I think my time has come to a close just now until the end Q&A. I'm just going to stop sharing just now. And I'm going to pass swiftly over to Dana to take us into the mural for selling bottom up. Over to you, Dana.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. I hope this exercise was useful and gave you a little bit of a different mindset on how to think about your stakeholder and maybe put yourself a little bit into their shoes, because the strategy that I'm going to introduce to you is based on that. It's based on building empathy with your stakeholder, and it's based on trying to relate a message that goes through the right channel and conveys the right value for your stakeholders. Because we could see that maybe at the level of purpose, why you want to introduce design sprints into your organization and what your stakeholders want to do more of as boost innovation, increase sales, focus on the business, maybe they meet, and I think they meet, but it's very possible that other things are in their way. And our role when it comes to how do we help them embed design sprints into their work is to alleviate those barriers. So this is the strategy that I want to introduce you to. It has 5 points and it involves a lot of work, although the framework is simple and I think you're going to find it common sense. It's still a lot of hard work behind it. So the 5 steps are: build empathy, find their pains, discover the opportunity, craft your sales pitch, and then prove value. And we're going to go a little bit in more detail and look at each and one of them. For this specific webinar, we have interviewed one of our stakeholders, someone that we had to sell the design sprint process to, bottom up. And in our case, we had like our main stakeholder was a senior business development lead. I don't know if we have anyone in our audience today with this role, and maybe you can find yourself in this description. And if not, feel free to enrich and add more flavor to what I'm going to say next. But we had a discussion and we got the chance to ask a couple of questions, and we used this proto-persona frame to capture all the relevant information that we need to know about them so we can put them into a prospect. So what we're seeing that here is what are some relevant facts and what are some things that business developers do. They would say about themselves that they represent the overall business goal, which is make more money and have a good margin. They define what impacts the business KPIs. They focus on the business. They have an overarching approach, and they communicate the impact to the team. So those are like standard facts about their role and their job. Next, we need to look at what are their goals. Okay, we know this is what it's defining you, but what are the main goals? Make sure our product organization knows what the impact of the new feature will be on the business KPIs, find new ideas, launch a new category or launch a new market. And basically their decisions need to serve to the entire market. So those are the typical goals that they have. How do they achieve these goals? Throughout a couple of behaviors. Like, what do? We bring expertise on the business KPIs. We look at the internal data. We work with external teams. We exchange information with other units. We do bi-weekly meetings with development teams, and we give other units the business perspectives. Also, what they do, they look at the competitive intelligence, and they are looking for the trends in the market. This is what takes a lot of time, and this is with what they occupy their daily activities. With those activities also come a couple of challenges, and we cover them here in red because they complained about them when we interview them. For example, we don't have a single product, so they have to promote and look at different products and multiple products. They want to serve everyone. They don't have a specific target audience that they need to serve. It's a challenge to come up with a point where the business need meets the understanding of the customer need. Another problem is that departments don't understand the aggregated data, which they construct and they collect. And also in cross-functional projects, it's a challenge to explain the business KPIs versus specific customer needs.
So basically, if I wanna.
Yeah.
So basically, this is before you start selling, you need to know who you're selling to, and this could be one persona. This is someone that we worked with, but yours could be totally different. But you will do the exact same process. In order to start selling to them, you need to understand who they are, what they do, what they're trying to achieve, and what are a few of their pain points. And then you need to know how they're doing it. So I would.
So at this first step, we just mapped the main things that we need to pay attention to so that we have a little bit of clarity on who our target key stakeholder is. Next, we will need to find their pains because that's one of the important jobs that we actually have to do. Because every day your managers are bombarded with challenges and with lots of information. And since they move from meeting to meeting, as we saw in our results just now, they have to pay attention and focus on many areas. So what you need to do is to help them navigate through the noise and make sense of the information by moving from problem solving to problem finding. If you can help them get to the root cause of a problem and surface the problems that they didn't even realize they had, you are on the right track of building influence and gaining their trust. And here's how you can find those pains and how you can reveal the root cause of the problems when it comes to take a deeper look at their job. What we see here is a project journey that our senior business development lead takes. Basically, they start from finding new ideas or answer specific business questions, and they need to end up to a specific goal, change a feature that impacts performance indicators. So how do they move from their need to their goal? And we map their journey into a little bit more detail. And we also added the challenges that they might have at each step of their journey. So when it comes to finding new ideas or answering a specific business question, what do? They look at the competitive intelligence, they look at the internal data, and maybe I can zoom in so we can see better. They exchange information with other business units. In this phase, in this moment, they might tell you that there's a big pain, that they don't have a direct relationship with the customer, so their data is more quantitative and less qualitative, and they have to base their opinions on what they receive this way. This could be a pain. So once they gather ideas, they need to build a business case. They take this business case to their boss, to their key stakeholder for sign off. Once their stakeholders say yes, they need to get into a meeting with all the external and internal teams that will make this idea come to life. In those meetings, they give the business perspective, and they're referring to how will the KPIs be impacted, and they transfer this market knowledge. Now, what happens in those meetings, again, they come with challenges. They complain about the fact that departments don't understand the aggregated data, or that in cross-functional projects, it's a challenge to explain the business KPIs versus specific customer needs. So they have a couple of pains and barriers at this point. Let's just say that those meetings go well. They are in charge then with coordinating the implementation of the program, of the feature or the project itself. Now, at this step, they get a lot of pressure from their key stakeholders, from their bosses, who expect radical changes, not kindergarten workshops. Or they panic, what, you haven't built anything yet? So they get to hear that this negative and this pressure from their boss at this stage. So if we just look at this and we're trying to build a little bit of empathy with them, we can see that they have plenty of barriers in their journey and they have to overcome a lot of challenges. And this is the moment where you come in, because your role is here, one, to surface those challenges, and then to think of ways of how can you help them overcome them. I also have here a quote from this person we interviewed. And in relationship to their boss, to their key stakeholders, they say it's also about trust. This is the biggest issues. This is why we need to do a good job with the strategy, because they need to trust us. And the lack of trust from the beginning kind of shadows the entire process until the end. So this is our step 2, finding their pains. Once we figured out what the pains are, we can move into discovering the opportunity and to look a little bit of where can design sprints actually make an impact. And we can start ask our questions like what if or how might we? And now I'm going to show you 3 examples of what ifs or areas of opportunities that you can all find and discover and reuse as you see fit later on. So if we look at this map and we look at this step in the journey, get key stakeholder sign off, and we look at this challenge saying that key stakeholders expect radical changes, not kindergarten workshops. What if we could do something at this stage? And what if we could make key stakeholders feel in control? And we find a solution in this area when they do the sign off. Throughout design sprints, we can find multiple ways that we can fix this problem and find an answer. So that's one of the areas of opportunities we need to look at. Another one would be here. We heard them complaining about their meetings with external and internal teams, that in cross-functional projects, it's a challenge to explain the business KPIs versus specific customer needs. That's a challenge that they have. But what if during those meetings, we could paint the full picture and create a common knowledge base? And we can do that again with the help of design sprint. Another area I have, it's here when they coordinate the implementation and the key stakeholders panic. What, you haven't built anything yet? What if we can do something here and we can make the process more transparent and engage the key stakeholders at this point? So those are all areas that we can tackle with design sprint and that we can focus on and find a solution and alleviate the pain for our main.
It's just that they don't know yet.
They don't know yet. So once we uncover those areas of opportunities, we are ready to craft our sales pitch. And how do we do that? There are 3 elements that I find really important at this stage. One, and most important, is to become a design sprint expert yourself. You need to demonstrate authority with process knowledge, case studies, social proof, whatever is there. You need to know the how, the what, and the why. Because think about this, you will need to know what you're selling. You need to know your product. Design sprints come in different forms and shapes. They have many nuances and they have a lot of pitfalls. So you need to have a thorough understanding of the process and a deeper knowledge of the different applications, because once you open this conversation with your boss, you will get concrete questions like, but why so many days? How many people? What are the expected results? How will you measure the results? How is that different from what your team is doing now? What is needed to make those results happen? How do you know this will work for us? Why design sprints and not design thinking? As you can see, there are many questions that your stakeholder might ask this specific point when you simply open the conversation. It's the same thing as you would go to an electronics store and you're trying to buy the latest flat screen TV. Actually, it's not you who are trying to buy, you are actually the sales representative. And you will need to know how to convince your customer to buy that TV from a large and pick from a large range of options. What is the level of detail that you would need to go into so that you convince someone to buy your flat screen TV? And I bet you'll need to know all the nitty-gritty to make that sell. And you will need to be very detailed and precise in your answers. So that's why I cannot emphasize more on the fact that if you want to sell something to someone, you need to know what you're selling, how it works, what it is, and why you need to do it. So that's like the first step in crafting your sales pitch. The second one would be framing your message. You will need to define the best way to present your message for a maximum impact. You want to add something?
No.
So what you want to do here is to set the terms of the discussion. Maybe you're familiar with the term of unconscious cognitive biases, which are like rules of thumb that guide our understanding of the world and help us make rapid decisions. Usually they lead us astray, but in many cases they can work in our favor. So when it comes to pitching your idea to your stakeholder, using a different frame in order to sell that idea and use a bias to do that might not be such a bad idea. So I want to introduce you to the loss aversion frame that tells us that people experiences losses more severely than gain. The prospect of losing something is more daunting than the prospect of winning something. So if you put a loss frame on your message and you ask your stakeholder, now let's think about it. What are all the things that you have to lose if you don't make a change? How will the future look like if we keep the current status quo? And have them think about keeping things as they are and not progressing and not moving forward. Put the negative frame first. Of course, there are many other frames you can use in a sales conversation, but this is one that scientifically works and gives results. Next, step 3 is to set up the context. Now, what do we mean by that? We mean to set up a situation in which your stakeholders can do something for themselves, because this is a true fact. When people have their own reasons for doing something, they're more likely to do it and sustain that behavior. So you need to create this context where you can help people summon their own motivations for making a change and make them experience it, because action creates belief. If we come back to buying a TV example, what you need to know is that people will drive their satisfaction not from the TV itself, it's not the machinery that they need, but it's from the experience that it gives them. What drives them is the idea of sitting together with the family and watching a movie, or maybe drinking beer with their friends during a football game. That's what they're buying. That's what drives the action. That's what convinces them to push forward. So what I'm suggesting here is to take the benefits and the exercises from a design sprint and move them into an experience that is personal and meaningful for your stakeholder. You don't want to waste their time. And we have here a suggestion on how you can craft this. We are talking about asking for 1 hour of their time, 1 hour demo workshop in which you're going to prove the value of design sprints by designing a personal experience that's meaningful to your key stakeholder. And you can see here in this screen that I've picked one of the areas of opportunities that we defined earlier on. What if you could make key stakeholders feel in control? So let's imagine we're doing this 1 hour demo workshop to solve this problem, or not even to solve it, but would at least open the conversation and start framing it and see how the design sprint stages, process, principles help us move the needle into the right direction. So we take this challenge and we organize 1 hour demo workshop that is focused on achievable outcomes. Like, what's achievable? Achievable in 1 hour is to find and share outside inspiration. We can ask a team that is diverse and cross-functional to look at what's happening outside, maybe of our company, of our industry, of our domain, and see how others are solving this challenge, feel in control. And this is basically the objective of the workshop. And we summon this diverse team of peers, colleagues. Maybe we can bring in a HR specialist, a UX designer, a project manager, and a senior developer, anyone who's friends with you and who's willing to give it a shot and see how the process feels like, and if they can make a change, or if they would like to experience this new way of working. And what you could do with them is a lighting demos exercise, which is very hands-on. Everyone participates, everyone has an activity to do, and everyone needs to present what they found and build together this inspiration board that will help them find even more ideas and enlarge their spectrum of ideas. And while you do this workshop, make sure you follow all the design sprint principles as together alone. Make sure that everyone has their time to research and think in silence, but then get together and share what they found. Tangible discussions, meaning everyone needs to capture what they discovered and what the team agreed on. So we need to have everything captured and in a physical form, not just ideas and discussions that are never ending. Everyone has time to share, and make sure that this time to share is equally divided between the team members. So if we follow those principles while we organize this 1 hour demo workshop, and we leave our stakeholders with a large board of inspiring ideas and solutions for a problem that they didn't even realize they have in the first place, I bet you anything that they will have this aha and this spark and this energy and questions like, how can I get more? I want more of this. I see this, I see this working. I can feel the experience and I want to see how it unfolds for further, because this is just like a teaser. This is just like a beginning. You're not going to end up with a clear decision or a clear strategy, but you are going to open the Pandora box for everyone who is involved in this type of workshop to learn more and to see how they can collaborate together. So in a nutshell, this is how you start small. And if we give a big overview of those steps, you can almost map them to the
Let me just,
okay.
before you say that, let me just ask you in this group, I don't have the Menti, the fancy Menti as Kate has, but I want to ask you a question. Who in this group believes that design sprints work? And just type yes in the chat window, or no, if you feel like they don't work. So I have a 1 yes, yes, yes. All right, a few more. Alex, yes. So overwhelmingly yes. Come on, I want to see a no. No. So everyone seems sometimes, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Often, yes, those are all good good answers. Yes. I don't see why no. Well, I have a few reasons, but good. So it seems like everyone or most of you, I don't want to see a no. I do believe the design sprints work, but why I'm asking you is because I'm trying to get your help and make a point, because all of this strategy that Dana came up with, it's actually based on the design sprint. So this is design sprints at work that you see here, because just like in a design sprint, you're starting with building empathy, you're starting with your actor, with your user, you're doing a map, and you're understanding their context and their pains, and then you're doing an exercise on how my twists and what ifs to discover the opportunities, which allows you to put in place a small prototype, which could be your 1 hour workshop, your pitch. I don't have, someone is saying, can you provide an example of a sales pitch? It's out of, it depends on the context. That's why we need to do all of this work, because the pitches, I mean, we can say it saves time, it saves money, it does all of these things that everybody knows, but also this kind of pitch does not work. But when you're making it relatable to them, when it's something that's meaningful and it helps them solve a problem and they can experience that, then it's like, then it's going to work. So you just need to put the design sprints at work, understand who is your user, see what they're doing, see the opportunity, and then build a prototype. And then if you fail with the first one, it doesn't mean that after you're doing the 1 hour demo workshop, all of a sudden design sprints will happen. Maybe that's not going to work, but you will learn, and then you can iterate just like in a design sprint. And in the next step, you know how to approach it much better. Of course, for this, it's important what Dana said as well. You need to become an expert at that yourself. So that's why I say like applying design sprints to selling design sprints could be a very good method. And I see here everyone says that, or most of you say design sprints work. So then there's no reason this would not work. And yeah, that's kind of how. Can you say a bit more about proving the value? Like, first of all, they need to experience, and here there were a couple of questions from Melody and Grant also about practicing design sprints, because you're coming to that workshop, you're not going there and say like, hey, my stakeholder, hey, decision maker, come with me for 1 hour, we're going to have a fun meeting. So we're not going to do any of that. Just because we've done all of our homework before, we know of some of their problems. And then I can get them into the work. It's like, look, I know about this problem that you have. I have an idea of how you can approach it. It will only take 1 hour. We're going to work with these people who also work with you on the project. Can we do this? And at the end, we're going to get that. So this is how you're framing it. It's not like, let's play, let's have fun. It's such a cool process. Google is doing it. Everyone is doing it. So that's not how you're pitching it. It's not relevant to them. Link it to something that they want to achieve.
So I think the keywords are personal and meaningful. Whatever you design, whatever you do in that 1 hour, they need to touch on those 2 key points, personal and meaningful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be a pitch like any other. I think you can find thousands of articles on the internet. What's the value of design sprint and how to put that in a nice presentation. But it won't get you you won't get your stakeholder to feel the experience that you want them to feel.
Well, 30 minutes is still good, Christine. So this is why each organization is different. So if you can't get 1 hour, get 30 minutes. You can still do a lot in 30 minutes if you have a plan on how to do it. But what's more important is the work that you're doing before all of these steps from 1 to 4, because otherwise you can just like start with 5. Let's do a workshop. Let's do a 1 hour workshop. And chances are that that's going to fire back if it's not well prepared and if it's not relevant to them. And this is just like in design sprints, because design sprints are not easy. And again, design sprints do not work without all of the prep work before. So yeah, there's no shortcut to that. I wish we could give you a magic formula, but we don't have it.
That excludes the work.
Yeah.
So this is a good formula, but it involves a lot of work, hard work. So it's just up to you if you want to embrace that work or not. So I guess we already started with the Q&A, and
Just
maybe
hold
Kate,
on. Yeah, there was a question from Carly who'd said, if you have good, exciting ideas after just 1 hour, how can you justify 4 or 5 days? And that maybe just expands a little bit there, John, on what you were, convincing and saying exactly the planning and the groundwork that needs to go in.
Where is it?
It's further down the bottom.
I mean, if you have a good, exciting ideas after 1 hour, how can you justify 4 or 5 days? It doesn't necessarily need to be 4 or 5 days right afterwards, Kate and Carly, right? You can have let's do another 2-hour session with these people and try to refine it and build on top of that. Many times when we're introducing design sprints in an organization, the way we're showing value is through problem framing, and we start with very short sessions. And at that point, it's even you have the stakeholders, after you do a half an hour session with them, and then you do a 2-hour session with them, they would say, we want more. And it's not even us who justify anymore, it's them, because they get to see how this links to what they're trying to do and the value, and they're going to ask like, yeah, let's do it. So I don't have to sell it anymore at that point.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah, I see one from JJ. Could you repeat that one-line pitch again, please? I wish I remember, but like you can watch the recording and then let me know what it is. Whether it's Dana or I who said it, I have no idea which was the one-line pitch. I'm so sorry, JJ.
There's a good one up here from Emily. At the top here, John and Dana, it's saying, how do you help your internal team acknowledge the gaps in their processes? And once that is done, how do you get them to trust that design sprints is the process that they need to fill in these gaps?
I would say my answer here, Dana might have another one. I would say the answer is in step number 3, where you're step number 2, find their pains, because you actually map their journey and you can help them visualize where they have the gaps and where they have the pain points, and you can just like put your finger on it. Look, team, this is where we struggle. This is where we lack. What if? That's the transitions. What if we could do that? Oh, and by the way, design sprints could help us like this. And that's why you need to be an expert at that.
Excellent. I think another one is maybe skepticism, which is quite a good one, where I think there's been quite a few questions around the difference between, I guess, design thinking, processes. Is this just the next trend? How about you get past that and how you get around that kind of, I guess, the silver bullet type approach that people see sometimes?
Mm-hmm. First of all, I don't think that when you're selling design sprints, you need to compare it with any other framework, because that's not the path that we're taking. Because if we go into a debate like that, it could be endless, because no one can deny the merits of design thinking. And in the end, design sprints is totally based on design thinking. So they're very similar frameworks in many ways, different in others, obviously. but just by making it relevant and personal and they see it in action, how it actually solves their problems, then do you care what the solution is if it solves your problem?
So it's more like not focus on selling the process, the exercise, the tools. That's not your selling. You're selling them the results and the resolution and the solving of their problem. That's what you're selling. The end goal. Not, it doesn't matter. We change the design sprint so many times, depending on the specific challenge that we have, depending on the client that we have. We change and tweak a lot of the elements from the design sprint. We are not keeping like a faithful line and keep all the exercises as they are. And we adapt and we take a lot from the design thinking, especially in the part of empathy and finding the problems. That's a lot of exercises and tools from the design thinking. So we are not thinking in tools, we're thinking how can we solve this problem and how can we get to the results that everyone wants to get to that result.
I think if I could add to it as well, where I've seen it benefit Design Sprint is it's a great introduction for businesses, especially large organizations where this is a new concept, even design thinking. Design sprints they're giving it that, giving them those results, quick results, but meaningful as well. And I think it's a good introduction to then start creating that culture of innovation, design thinking, etc. So sometimes, again, I find that a great way to perhaps sell the concept, that it isn't just a passing phase, that it's something that you can build on and create a kind of holistic process around.
Maybe we take one more because I think we are like pass over.
What can we answer? I mean, we do have a lot of questions from consultants and people selling design sprints externally, just like our position. Not a topic of this one, but maybe we do one on this topic, how to sell design sprints for a living or as a business. Absolutely, that's a very long one. So I don't think I would have any quick answers there.
And it is a different approach.
It's a different approach.
It is a different strategy that you need to deploy. All right, Kate, can you find anything else? If not,
there was one again, just an addition, I think it's come from Carly again, where she's saying any additional advice on when it involves convincing clients to work with you in this manner rather than just internal stakeholders. So if you are working externally with clients, is there a way that you can convince them to do?
Yeah.
Well, you want to take it?
No, it's just what we said. That it's a totally different approach, and this would be very well the topic of another webinar. Because
but just some key points. You need to prove expertise, regardless. You need to prove that you know what you're doing, and then you need to show results, because that's what everyone wants, right? They are afraid of making the wrong decision. So how do you help them stop making the wrong decision? Showing them results and expertise. So you need to get there, I would say.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. I think that's us at 3 minutes past. So again, I think Alex has been furiously typing in chat with lots of links. As we said at the beginning, we will be sharing out links to the recording on our social media channels. LinkedIn's a good place to find that. And again, we will, we encourage any additional questions that you may have afterwards. Again, just link up with us on LinkedIn, and you can, private message us and ask questions, or again, email us at reach out to us on all our social media channels, and we can continue the conversation. I think we're at the end, and we'd just like, again, just to thank you all for joining us this evening. We know that you're all very, very busy and it's time out your schedule, and just, thank you so much, and we'll see you the next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate and Alex. Bye.